As a 19-year-old in Hoogezand, Netherlands, I'm overwhelmed by despair. When the last tree has fallen, you cannot eat money. Everyone turns a blind eye to a dying planet. Yearning for change, I ask, do we care, or are we just too afraid to act? What will it take to wake up?
Hi,
I am a human in this world, this dark yet colorful world. I am writing this message as a warning to everyone. I am a human in this world. It is currently 12:46 a.m. Thursday, the 26th of December, 2024, in my room in Hoogezand, Netherlands. I am writing this because I feel anxious. I have questions that seem to go unanswered. I am reaching out to the world, to you. Perhaps you can answer my questions or join me in wondering. Let us contemplate this world and how we treat it as well as how it treats us. I am composing this while listening to music. Aurora, Je Wardruna, Florence, Heilung, Adele, you name it. I hear Aurora singing about the bittersweet beauty of our world. In The Seed, she speaks of human corruption betraying their mother, their protector, their home, planet Earth. When the last tree has fallen and the rivers are poisoned, you cannot eat money, oh no. That is the message of the song, if I remember correctly. Our ignorance, our complete ability to understand what we are doing, yet still we do nothing. Is that the right word? Nothing. People do cry and shout, they do warn us, yet nothing seems to change. What are we doing? Are we unable to feel the consequences of these events? Are we completely oblivious to them? Forests are dying, rivers are being polluted. There is more plastic than fish in the sea. The air is filled with substances that we cannot even inhale safely. Do we not care, or do we not want to care? This world is dying. We know that future generations will not survive if we continue on this path. And it is not only humankind that will suffer. Everything will. There is only one Earth. One, we should be careful with it, right? Or does nature always find a way to rise above us? Even if it does, just look at a fox, an elephant, a cow. Observe them while listening to The Seed by Aurora and tell me you do not feel the urge to change everything you know. Because that is realistically what we need to do, change everything. But we cannot. We want to, yet we do not even try. Why is it that when someone is vegan, vegetarian, or follows a similar lifestyle, they are often seen as weak or as something negative, at least by many? Or is that just my experience? They are at least trying to help this world. I am not implying it always works, nor suggesting that everyone should adopt this lifestyle or that every vegetarian is like that, but at least they are trying. They want to change their habits for themselves and for the earth. No, not just for themselves and not solely for the earth. For us, keep that in mind, humans, we must not separate ourselves from the rest. We are as responsible for this world as a snail chewing a leaf on a tree across the street, and we will feel the consequences in exactly the same way. We are encasing ourselves in walls, large barriers of concrete and stone, like the wall in the television series Game of Thrones. We hide all our worries behind this wall. Do not look back, or you will see the harsh reality of it all. All while we decay within our own metal and money ecosystem, struggling to survive. No hunt for food or a safe place, just a hunt for money and recognition. Which is normal, right? It is our human way of surviving. But when everything collapses, economy, money, humanity, and survival as we know it, only then will we realize that we cannot eat money. And it will collapse. I fear that moment, yet I also hope it happens soon so that we are not completely engulfed in our own beliefs, far removed from the real world. I am a human in this world just like many others. I draw quite often. I am writing my book, a story that will also encompass all I have expressed in this message, this warning gathered into one narrative. It will be difficult to write, but I am trying. That is why I am currently writing this in case my story never reaches the world, because I need this and so does the world. This world needs to heal, but first we must understand it and most importantly understand ourselves. That is why I warn you now at 1:14 a.m. on Thursday, the 26th of December, 2024, in my room in Hoogezand, Netherlands while listening to music. Aurora, Adele, Je Wardruna, Heilung, you name it. Heilung is a band comprised of individuals from various regions and countries. Germany, Norway, Denmark, and others. Their songs are based on ancient texts and artifacts from the Iron Age and the Vikings, aimed at reconnecting with the earth and our ancestors. Isn't that somewhat tragic? It troubles me to think that we require music to reconnect with the earth. It is beautiful, it is harsh, but most importantly, it is wrong. If we need music to reconnect, why is there such a scarcity of these types of bands and artists? There are many, but not enough. Why is it that we need certain stimuli to feel wild, to feel like a part of this world, the real world? Why must we actively engage in something to belong? I want to feel that way all the time, connected to myself, the earth, and my essence. Do not misunderstand me. Music has always been and will always be a means to feel good and to feel oneself. However, we have lost so much about this world, so much within this world, our natural state. Why have we sailed so far from the real? Because it is easier, more enjoyable. Do we abandon our primal selves to feel better, yet we forget that this new world is not better for everyone? It is almost impossible to leave this concrete jungle behind as a human. Not everywhere in the world, but in far too many places. I wonder if people truly enjoy this world more than the real one. Perhaps we do not know any better, but we labor for others. Millions of years of evolution have culminated in us sitting behind desks for hours. We work to survive, yet we are really sustaining the wealthy. We feed them and earn money for them. I am not claiming the wealthy are bad or undeserving of their money, as often it is earned fairly. But do we realize that we work to survive? Or do we merely do it to feed our egos, our desire to have more? Consider the capital from Susan Collins, The Hunger Games, a grand city that thrives on the suffering of others, the labor of others, the pain of others. They are the complete opposite of primal survival, yet I believe it is also very much the same. The individuals within the walls of the capital have lost all connection to their primal selves. They rely entirely on makeup, deception, and ego, yet they enjoy watching humans kill one another in a grand arena. It is normalized propaganda. Life right. It does not sound very different from an expected human existence on Earth. We lie, we drape ourselves in false beliefs. Is it because we feel obligated? Do we even notice what we are doing? We center ourselves. We do not care about others. Everyone always speaks sympathetically about the impoverished in distant lands, but aiding them, only a few take action. I understand it is not always feasible to help, but how can we wear clothing made by small children laboring in factories under duress and in unhealthy environments? Do we not care? We do, but like with the seed, we simply turn away. How is it acceptable that news broadcasts highlight people dying, destitute nations requiring assistance, and so forth, only to be followed by cheerful music, happy music that masks the harsh realities of this world? Oh no, people are dying. We will distract you with some upbeat music, and then you will act as if nothing is amiss, right? We do not question the norms we are asked to uphold. Why? Why is it considered normal and acceptable to farm animals as though they are worthless? Why is it acceptable to engage in activities that have detrimental consequences for others? I am a human in this world now at 7:03 p.m. on Thursday, the 26th of December, 2024, in the living room of my grandparents' home in Oud-Pekela, Netherlands, Christmas, just like yesterday, eating from a table brimming with food. It almost feels wrong to enjoy it. So many others could benefit from it. Individuals who do not live in the capital from The Hunger Games by Susan Collins. Unlike me. I possess certain privileges, certain accepted normalities that others would consider luxurious a blessing. But they deserve it too, right? Why is it that where you are born determines whether you are wealthy or not, whether you are safe or not, whether you are happy or not? Was it intended to be this way by forces humans cannot comprehend? Was this world meant to be filled with so much suffering, so harsh? And if that is the case, why do we not take action? If we are going to act as if we are distinctly separate from nature because we are safe, good, kind, and humane, then why not truly act according to those principles? Why not genuinely be what we claim to be? But most importantly, why do we continue to listen to the lies? Or are we distinct precisely because of our flaws? The complete opposite, because we are harsh and cruel, so cold, because of our ability to utterly disregard the issues facing this world. Well, in truth, our world, our capacity to be so disconnected from others who just need that connection. Are we too frightened to confront the truth? We are, so we conceal it. Yet in reality, we are not hiding it. We simply allow others to carry it. Are we afraid of losing what little we possess? We are, because all we have are our beliefs which hold us together. If those beliefs disappear, we will indeed be faced with reality. Yet the reality is too overwhelming, too immense. It is so great that I cannot even fully grasp it. Do we dislike individuals like vegans and activists because they make us look bad? They cast light on our transgressions. Where previously there was a shadow of normalcy, now there is a light of change, a change many are unprepared to confront. I am a human in this world, but do not forget that I am also its future. A future I wish to share with others. In a green, vibrant world, not one filled with factories, smog, and pollution. Not a world of hatred and endless struggle for survival, even if this means giving up those extra comfortable clothes, those extra treats at Christmas. So please be cautious with it, because it does not belong to us to destroy. We inhabit a world so strange that only when you truly start to contemplate normal aspects of life will they reveal themselves as peculiar. I am a human in this world in a car traveling on a road in the Netherlands Drenthe at 1:58 p.m. Wednesday, the 8th of January 2025. Happy New Year. Do we wish each other a Happy New Year because we genuinely are, or do we pretend to be so? I do not know. How can we exist while commuting to work for someone else every day? Each day we construct this dystopian world, expanding it further, worsening it. We build it higher and higher until we can no longer discern the truth below. I do not understand why we take such pleasure in hatred. Does it provide us with a better sense of our own circumstances, or does it diminish them, prompting us to sympathize with ourselves? Do we fabricate our lives to make them seem better or more appealing? Is the feeling of love satisfying only because we know that others are deprived of that satisfaction? Why do we crave something, even when we know it will ultimately prove meaningless? Why does everything feel like a game? Be sad at this moment, they will understand and feel you. Why is the truth not sufficient, not beautiful enough? Because it is not. It all feels like an elaborate performance. We can barely express our genuine emotions without them being suppressed or wounded. Why are we not adequate? We constantly point to the past. Look at how cruel we were, look at how foolish we were. But we have not diminished. We have evolved, albeit only in the manner in which we express those traits, and in how we act and react to them. I am a human in this world in a bus on the road in the Netherlands Groningen at 7:16 p.m. Wednesday the 16th of April 2025. It has been a while that has felt like nothing. But perhaps was it nothing after all? It has only been 2 months. That is insignificant compared to a lifetime, which is about 80 years. Years filled with suffering and pain, but also with beauty and growth. A life. When it all ends, what remains? A darkness. Darkness is substantial. It is the absence of everything else. What if that absence also did not exist? What remains then? What lies at the end of this journey? Are there gates, pits, roads? Perhaps another journey awaits. Will there also be suffering in that journey? Will there be wars, conflicts, humans? Does each person have their own end, perhaps? The hummingbird in the forests, does it meet an end of flowers and leaves, or is a body merely a vessel for this journey? Do I get to experience a pleasant end when this journey concludes? Will I get to rest? Was this world created solely for survival and anxiety? Why do we exist? Why do deer flee from lions, eat and reproduce to survive? Why is it instinctual to survive rather than to simply live? To enjoy? Or is the ultimate fate of instincts to enjoy, but first one must survive? Have we humans transcended mere survival? Have we achieved enjoyment? Is this enjoyment? And why must the world be at risk for our enjoyment? Or is this merely another facet of survival? Why do we survive? Why do wolves kill and horses struggle? What is the purpose? Perhaps one can find enjoyment while surviving. To love, laugh, and eat. I do not know why, but it seems worthwhile to fight. Is it instinct? Even when everything appears dark and lifeless, I still long to fight and prove the naysayers wrong. Yet in the end, do I unite with others or stand alone? Or will I eventually falter deep in the dark recesses of truth? Oh, is that it? Instinct is merely a thought designed to keep us alive, to prevent us from caring, to shield us from the truth. What compels us to live even in this world? What or who created instinct, created the desire to live and the struggle for survival? Yet in the end, do we stand together or in isolation? Is the force urging us to live good or bad, right or wrong? I am a human in this world and I inherit this world. We must be careful with it. We children are your heirs, your successors. We inherit your space in this world, and as important, strong, and influential beings, we will ultimately shape this world. We will occupy your positions and transform what you have built. I am you from the future, but hopefully better. I am the next to mold this world, and I aspire to do good with my power. I am claiming my throne, yet my aim is to dismantle it, not to construct it higher and higher from this earth. I will bring ourselves down before succumbing to our deceptions. Story 2. Growing up in a strict Christian home, I was often punished for reasons I didn't understand. You must have provoked him, my dad would say, while my mom insisted. He's looking for a reaction. Now at 42, I've broken free, but the scars linger. Will they ever understand? I am a 42-year-old female who grew up in a conservative Christian household in the Midwest. I mention religion not to assign blame or offer excuses, but to provide context. I have 3 older brothers, 1 older sister, and a twin sister. She is technically younger than me by 1 hour and 10 minutes. My father fit the mold of the typical head of household. He worked long hours, sometimes holding 2 jobs, and dedicated his time, skills, and resources to those in need. He was always repairing something in the home or on a vehicle. However, he was also extremely strict, adhering to a strict interpretation of the law. He believed in using both physical punishment and hard labor as forms of discipline. While I loved him then and still do, he was frightening. He had limited patience, limited kindness, and limited understanding when it came to his children. To the outside world, he was seen as a gentle giant, a genius capable of solving unusual problems, and a highly regarded member of the church. Although he punished me physically, I learned about accountability. It lessened the intensity of the punishments when I recognized that, indeed, I had broken the rules and deserved the consequences. However, the punishments felt more severe when I realized I hadn't deserved them. I don't know how the window got broken, I promise. You did it, you or your friends, I know you did. My mother was the stereotypical stay-at-home mom. She was extremely kind to everyone, only spoke when spoken to, and understood all the rules of etiquette and politeness, but she struggled to say no and was a major pushover. Appearances took precedence over reality. Even at a young age, I understood that my mother was superficial and vain. In public, she portrayed herself as loving and supportive, but behind closed doors, she was emotionally distant and not at all like the person she pretended to be. As I grew older, I came to recognize that my mother was also insecure and highly judgmental. For instance, I was a nerdy tomboy who enjoyed climbing trees, playing video games, and reading books. When I was discussing the video game The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, with my aunt, my mother overheard and insisted that I must have only watched my brother play the game because, in her view, I did not play games. I insisted that I purchased the Nintendo 64 and the game with my own money and that I did indeed play it. She accused me of lying about it. Another instance involved my two best friends, both boys. I had no romantic feelings for them, and if they had any for me, they were respectful enough that I was unaware of them. My mother despised the fact that I spent time with these boys. What kind of girl hangs out with boys? What would people think if they saw you? I argued that the boys were my friends and that people would think I was normal for having friends. We would argue about it every time. I could recount hundreds of similar stories, but I am just trying to convey a larger picture at the moment. To add to this picture, my youth was an emotional wasteland. We were shamed for taking pride in our achievements. Pride goes before a fall. Be humble and be blessed. We were shamed for needing love. God's love is all that matters. Human love is vain. My father used the law as an excuse, and my mother, with her insecurities and judgments, seemed to lack any knowledge of what positive emotions looked or felt like. She could mimic them in public, but that was where it ended. My brother, who is less than 2 years older than I am, I will refer to as Jake. Jake is intelligent and creative. I see him as a genius, probably the only genuine genius I know. However, during our childhood, he was unkind. I often experienced random beatings from him, consisting of 2 or 3 quick but hard punches, nothing more than a limp or a bruise. It never left a mark on my face. Later in life, he acknowledged what he had done. He did not apologize by explaining that he felt jealous of the attention my sister and I received. What attention, huh? Nonetheless, I would cry and run to my mother, recounting his actions. At first, she attempted to punish him, but everyone recognized that my mother was a pushover and that her threats meant nothing. I learned not to involve my father since he believed that my brother would not hit me without provocation, so we both ended up punished. Bring the belt. If my father happened to catch my brother and saw that I hadn't provoked him, meaning my brother was the only one punished, it would worsen the next few times my brother decided to hit me. Therefore, everyone quietly agreed that involving my dad would not resolve any issues. Eventually, my mother admitted that she had no power over Jake and could do nothing to punish him. She advised me not to cry, saying, "He is looking for a reaction. If you do not cry, he will not get a response." That was poor advice. Now regarding my twin, whom I will call Jackie. My brother used to hit her as well until one day, when we were 7 or 8 years old, she snapped and fought back. She had a purse filled with matchbox cars, the ones made of real metal and likely lead paint, and she began swinging the purse at him. She managed to beat him pretty badly that day. It remains a story they both share to this day, one they recount with pride. However, it marked the beginning of something dark in my twin. From that point forward, she joined my brother in hitting me. By the time we reached 11 or 12, she would attack me on her own. I believe it began at school. She had leftover chili or pasta, something red that needed to be microwaved. While returning to her desk where we ate in classrooms at that school, she tripped and spilled her lunch. Everyone laughed. I laughed. She then attacked me. It involved punching, kicking, pulling my hair, pushing me to the ground, and beating me. The teacher intervened, but I have no idea if he informed my parents. She never got in trouble for it. This became my new reality, living in constant fear that any given moment could lead to a violent outburst from my sister. Occasionally, if she had something handy, like a pair of scissors, a knife, or a large stick, she would use those as weapons, too. Initially, it was only me suffering, and as long as my father remained unaware, no action was taken. Sibling rivalry, nothing to be concerned about, they would eventually grow out of it. By the time we turned 14, my sister began attacking others, including adults. She faced suspension from school at least 3 times in a single year. The school would warn next time it's expulsion, but they never followed through. She also began stealing and got caught. She started smoking both cigarettes and marijuana, sneaking out of the house past curfew, and hanging out with boys. She had also begun self-harming and claimed to be suicidal. If her punishment was too severe, she would grab a knife and cut herself right in front of our parents, well, our mother, since we never involved our father in these matters. He only made things worse. Consequently, my mother gave my twin everything she demanded, or at least anything within her power to provide. Thus, my mother, unable to stop my sister's descent into chaos, placed me in charge of Jackie. If Jackie got caught smoking, I was punished for failing to stop her. If Jackie sneaked out and got caught, I faced punishment for not dissuading her. All I learned from this was how to lie for my sister and cover up for her misdeeds. However, because I was designated as my sister's keeper, I was compelled to accompany her everywhere. Had I made plans with friends, it did not matter. I had to go with Jackie and bring my friends along. I did not want my friends to see her unstable behavior, so I resisted. As a result, I was compelled to follow Jackie wherever and whenever she desired. I continued to endure physical abuse. Yet after the third threat of expulsion, my father finally intervened. My sister had assaulted another boy, throwing him to the ground, hitting him with a baseball bat, and slamming his head onto the ground. He required medical attention, including stitches. His parents stated they would not file charges if Jackie attended therapy. Thus, my parents arranged for her to receive therapy. She was diagnosed with what I believe is now referred to as bipolar disorder. However, she was not prescribed medication, receiving only individual therapy and family therapy with my parents. I personally believed her diagnosis was unfounded. Even at 14, I recognized that my parents and the family environment had a highly negative influence on Jackie. I hated her and lived in constant fear of her, but I also empathized with her situation. I did not hold her responsible for her behavior. In fact, she cycled through 3 therapists in 2 years because they frequently pointed out my parents as the source of her anger issues. Eventually, my father declared that therapists were atheists sent from the devil. My sister learned to behave like a good, gentle Christian when others were present, even if she remained the entitled rage monster that she was at home. As long as we maintained the appearance of a put-together family, it seemed that nothing else mattered. I have countless stories detailing my experiences of assault and abuse, stories in which my sister's insecurities threatened my safety and well-being. However, who has time to share them all? I did inform my mother that I did not feel safe with Jackie, expressing my fears that she might go too far. I mean, she had attempted to kill me on a few occasions by that point. My mother insisted that I needed to stay with Jackie to keep her safe, even from herself. I attempted to communicate this to other adults, teachers, and family members, but my mother's ability to present a facade of normalcy was too convincing. Alternatively, my narratives may have sounded too outrageous. Regardless, I received no support, only anger from my mother. "Stop telling lies, that is not how we live and you know that." "Oh really?" "Because I vividly remember a time when my sister came at me with a knife and I was fighting her off for my life while you, Mom, walked into the room. Our eyes met and you turned around and left. You know I am not lying." After I turned 18 and moved out, I began sharing my childhood experiences with others. My mother and sister would claim that I was overreacting, that it was not that severe, and that Jackie and I were merely wrestling for fun, implying that no one's life was ever genuinely jeopardized. Their gaslighting worked. I lived with the understanding that my sister's life mattered more than my own, that my feelings and experiences were insignificant, and that no one would believe me if I spoke the truth. For a long time, I also wrestled with depression. Earlier this year, my depression reached a critical point. I faced significant suicidal thoughts, more than I had ever experienced before. I felt as if I were falling into a void with the ground approaching rapidly. Even though people told me they cared about me, I did not feel that care. I knew I had to change my thought patterns before I reached rock bottom. I began taking antidepressants and attending therapy. My first significant breakthrough: I care about myself and that is sufficient. At 42, I learned that it is permissible to love myself. I discovered how to name my abuse and learned to speak my truth. Recently, I passed a state-certified exam to obtain a state-approved license. It is a challenging test and most people fail on their first attempt. I succeeded. I learned that it is acceptable to be proud of my achievements. I learned to respect myself and established boundaries that I had never had before. Moreover, I am currently learning how to adhere to those boundaries. Shortly after I began therapy, I decided to inform my father. He suggested I speak with our church pastor. I replied that sometimes science is more beneficial than a flawed pastor. After all, God gave us science. Since that conversation, he has been very distant. My dad, mom, and sister, yes, they have remained in my life throughout this entire experience. I have been gaslighted, misjudged, invalidated, and subjected to various descriptions to allow them to feel good about themselves at my expense, all while knowing the stress I was experiencing with this exam. I told them the dates repeatedly. They did not reach out afterward to check how I had done, and I am done attempting to reach out to them. My mother eventually contacted me, noting the distance. I informed her that I am healing and would appreciate space and respect as I navigate this process. She expressed concerns about the difficulty of the new job that came with passing the exam. I clarified that it is not the job, I simply need time to heal. She continues to send me memes on Facebook with messages like "I care" and "my beloved daughter." My sister reached out asking, "Are you mad at me?" When I responded that I was not, she replied, "You do not have to lie to me." I should be angry, but I am not. I understand that they are who they are, and unless they choose to change, there is no point in arguing with them. I am moving forward with my life. I no longer care whether they care about me or not. The truth is, they never did. However, I do care about myself, and that is enough. If you have read this far, I appreciate your attention. I am not sharing this story in hopes of gaining belief or sympathy. I am merely articulating my truth and trying to heal in the process. I am open to advice from anyone who has experienced a similar situation, or if you want someone to listen to your story, I am here. Thank you. Story 3. My friend H betrayed me after I refused to help her and her toxic boyfriend, saying I'd betray anyone who spoke to me. 2 years later, I learned how deeply she twisted everyone against me, leaving me invisible when I cherished our friendship. How could she change so much? TLDR at the end. This is a repost because I realized I wrote way too much, and I genuinely want to hear your opinion. The main event that triggered this situation occurred in late 2023. Before anyone asks why I am still discussing this now, I only recently learned about everything that transpired behind my back, yes, 2 years later. I thought that these issues resurfacing after 2 years would not affect me. However, my family and friends have observed that I have not been myself lately. Honestly, at this point, I cannot pinpoint what has been causing my unhappiness. So I hope that sharing this here will help me alleviate my mental distress because I want to feel happy again. I am a 19-year-old female who recently graduated from tertiary education. Since my first year, I have been close to a girl. Let us refer to her as H. We used to share a strong bond and enjoyed each other's company. Most of the time, she would confide in me about her problems, and I would support her because I genuinely cared for her as a friend. To me, she was like the big sister I never had, and I admired her maturity and independence. Fast forward to the end of our first year, both of us entered into relationships, and coincidentally, the four of us were in the same class. Little did I know, this would lead to a terrible outcome in 2023. To get to the point, I always had a bad feeling about her boyfriend T, as I interacted with him during group projects, and he was also close to my boyfriend. He often liked to compare himself to others and acted as if he was superior to everyone else. Later, I discovered that he had been saying terrible things about me to my classmates, making comments about my appearance, specifically my chest, which I cannot change, calling me stupid, I believe no one is, and much more. For reference, I was unaware of this when the main event occurred. The most critical factor leading to the main event is that I felt T took advantage of my boyfriend, as my boyfriend is the kind of person who never says no to anyone. I apologize for the lengthy explanation, so please bear with me. The main event. One day while my boyfriend was at my home, he received a call from T. T was in a panic and was pleading with my boyfriend to come to the hotel where they were staying. For context, I believe both T and H's parents do not trust them to be together, if that makes sense. Therefore, T lied to his parents, saying he was with my boyfriend, and his parents demanded photo proof. As a result, T was frantically asking my boyfriend to go to the hotel so they could take a quick picture, allowing him to leave afterward because T and H wanted to have sex. My boyfriend then handed the phone to me, and I told T that my boyfriend would not travel all the way to the hotel just for a 2-second photo. At that moment, I really felt that he was treating my boyfriend like a puppet whenever he wanted, and I admit I used some harsh phrases such as, "That's your own problem for lying to your parents," among others. T became very angry and informed H about the conversation. She immediately called me and expressed her disappointment in my refusal to assist them, ultimately ending our friendship. At that moment, I looked at my boyfriend, utterly shocked. We were both taken aback by their reaction, particularly H's. Fast forward a bit, H chose to reconcile our friendship, and we met up to discuss everything afterward. We parted ways on what I thought was a positive note and remained friends for a few months. However, one day she suddenly began ignoring me and did not communicate with me for the next several months, even when I reached out to her both in person and through text multiple times. Eventually, I stopped trying contact because I did not want to make her feel uncomfortable, and it saddened me that she treated me as if I were invisible. After our internship. Many months later, after our 6-month internship, school resumed and she began talking to me again. I was genuinely happy, and conversing with her reminded me of the good times we shared during the first and second years. I also learned that T had broken up with her, which relieved me because I felt he was not a good match for her. It was wonderful for the first few hours until I joined her and her 3 friends for karaoke. Once again, I felt virtually invisible to all of them, and although I felt deeply hurt, I did not question it, realizing that throughout the entire 2 to 3 hours we were there, she did not glance at me even once. At that moment, I knew she would do it again, and I was correct. She gave me false hope for that one day, and afterwards she discarded me in favor of her 3 friends. Additionally, I discovered that she had removed 2 girls from her group and had only kept the remaining 3. What happened behind my backs? To summarize, during 2024 and 2025, I endured a miserable experience in class as most people treated me as if I were invisible. It was challenging for me to maintain normalcy, and I genuinely tried my best to contribute to group projects. However, I later discovered why numerous individuals in my class, as well as those outside it whom I had known since my first year, ignored me every time I attempted to greet them. They would not even acknowledge my presence. H told people not to engage with me or befriend me, claiming I would betray them. This explained why some individuals treated me poorly in class while others ignored me when I approached them. On several occasions, they deliberately did things to make me feel excluded. Regarding the karaoke incident, H believed I failed to read the mood that day and questioned my decision to join them. Her entire friend group ignored me that day. Many individuals from my first-year class disliked me, and recently, during discussions about one of their birthday chalet events, several insisted that I could not attend. I suspect that it was either H or T, or possibly both, spreading rumors about me to everyone else we collectively knew. They called me self-absorbed and cringeworthy due to my social media presence, circulating my videos to criticize or mock me. Additionally, I discovered that H spoke poorly of her own close friends to others. This revelation shocked me because the person behind these actions was not the individual I knew in the first year, who had been genuinely kind. It truly broke my heart to realize all of this recently. Afterward, I took a few days to reflect at home and reassure myself that, at the very least, I had graduated and would not have to see these individuals again. The only occasion I would encounter them is on my graduation day. I plan to leave these experiences behind and forgive all the individuals mentioned above. I feel emotionally mature enough to do so, and I am actually grateful to have learned what happened because it has made me stronger. I hope this serves as closure for me. Please share your thoughts and advice on what I could have done differently. I genuinely value my friendships and I do not wish to lose any more friends. I hope to make new friends in university and leave the past behind. I truly appreciate you taking the time to read until the end. It means a lot to me. TLDR, my friends wanted to have sex, and because I did not assist them in lying to their parents, they began spreading rumors about me to everyone we knew, turning me into an outcast. Since then, nearly everyone has treated me as if I were invisible.